up my game. I'm a groove student, yes I am. With groove, I know I can. Read my master plan. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. Oh, I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. Oh, I'm grooving. I'm moving, yes I am. I'm moving. I'm moving. I'm moving, yes I am. I'm moving. I'm moving. I'm moving, yes I am. Groove Nation inspires me to bust loose and break free. I'm dancing to my dreams, bursting at the seams. I'm feeling groove-alicious. Who knows who I am? 'Cause now is my time to have a groove state of mind. I'm grooving. Oh, I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. Oh, I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am.
I love dancing Groovezilla.
Me too.
I just love it. It's like his big old butt moving around like this.
Makes me so happy.
It does too. I mean, I every time I see it, I'm like, wow, this is so cool. Here we are. One of
It's
our
still my favorite thing that we've done here in Groove is the creation of GrooveZilla.
Mhm, for real. And here we are once again for one of our favorite hours of the month, Donna Fox.
Yes, I love it. Ridgely, great to see you. We're here for our Groove Growth, just a kind of a fireside chat where we talk about the monthly topic. So Ridgely always comes very prepared for these sessions. I always come not at all prepared for these sessions, so that we can get a little fresh perspective, new perspective, and have a conversation. So let's get rolling. Ridgely, what's today's topic?
Perfect. Today's topic is leadership and encouragement. And I actually wanted to go the other way and talk about encouragement first. Encouragement is if you look at the word encouragement, it's broken into encouragement, right? Like pulling that all together. If you look at the word courage, cœur is heart in French. So it's encouragement. Right. And I love that. I love trying to break down these words, looking at the etymology and saying, hey, so encouragement is all about the heart. What do you think about that?
I love that. Being a very heart-centered, love-motivated person, that rings true to me. Absolutely. I've never broken down that word, but it makes a whole lot of sense. You also hear people say the expression, "Oh, have heart." Have heart. And often that is meant to refer to have courage and have faith, have a little heart. And when encouragement comes from the heart, as opposed to criticism, which might be seen as, the opposite of encouragement, I think it's far more effective. So
100%, right?
Yeah.
And it's as I was really pondering and getting ready for this, I was thinking about how weird a time we live in, right? To move from a space of a pandemic to a space of the threat of war, and and the fact that there is a war going on right now, and how much more need there is than ever for that heart space to come out, for us to encourage each other, give each other a little bit of hope, and do whatever we can to I don't want to say get rid of, but maybe dissipate some of the ridiculous amount of tension that is being created, the polarity, the separation that is happening everywhere. Yet all it takes is a little heart to pull everybody back together.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm kind of sitting there thinking, okay, what is my part here? What can I do? Which of course ties into leadership, but just on the encouragement side, how can so I play this game. And I will target the grumpiest looking person. And, and the game is, I'm going to get this person to smile somehow. So usually it happens in places like grocery stores or at the bank or at the post office or somewhere. And you look and you go, okay, who looks super grumpy? Okay, perfect. That's the person I'm going after. So I will pick my row in the grocery store according to the grumpy looking person, and then go see what I can do to give them a little bit of hope. And I love that expression. If you see somebody who needs a smile, give them yours. And it really does work, right? Like, hey, how you doing? Thank you so much. I mean, I just do all kinds of goofy things to try to get them to have a little lightness in their life, offer them a little encouragement, so to speak. And even though it's not that hard, I just wonder why more people just don't do that. What do you think?
I think that most of us are so busy in our own minds, in our own worlds, in our own space, thinking about the 17 things that we need to do that day and the phone call we forgot to make and the small nagging problem that's on their mind. And breaking out of that to stop and look out of yourself is a habit that needs to be cultivated, because everything else in life brings us inward into, this is what's going on in your life, with your job, with your work, with your business, with your family. It's all very, very you-centered. I'm fond of saying that I am, I was shocked how big the universe was until I realized I was the center of it. Well, you're the center of it too. And everyone is the center of their own universe, which is how it should be. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's it's your life. You should be the center of it. But the action of reaching out to recognize, reflect, appreciate, improve the lives of other people around you it's not part of the me train that we're all on. So we really, really need to make a conscious effort in order to do that. So I think some of us, especially more extroverted people, are just by their general nature, more outwardly focused. So I think that's why it doesn't happen as often. I think people are just so mired in their own messes.
I think that we can unpack a lot of stuff here, because at the end of the day, serving others, helping others, encouraging others encourages us too. You find yourself being more full. You find yourself appreciating the fact that you're appreciating somebody in a moment. It has a perpetual kind of cycle that goes along with it. And I love this. Somebody has a nickname. Tropical Cabbage says there's a shortage of love and appreciation in the world. When you hand it out in slices, it'll come back in loaves.
I love that.
I love that. That is beautiful. Thank you very much, Tropical Cabbage. We appreciate you. And I think that having a sense of the power of enlightened greed is important. What I mean by enlightened greed is simply knowing, not negotiating with the universe. Oh, if I do this, I'm going to get this. If I do this, I want this in return. If I make all these good causes to help people, I deserve this. That's negotiating with the universe. I don't think that works at all. In fact, that causes a lot of angst and anxiety and stress. But having the knowledge to say, I don't know what it looks like, though I do know that when I serve others and help others on a continuous basis and make that a part of my being, good things are going to happen. It's not this gets you this. It's a, wow, I wonder what's coming next as long as I continue to serve, continue to help, continue to do whatever. And I see it every day. I see it having that shifting a little bit out of the me. And the way that I do that is with a conscious recognition that shifting away from the me world actually yields tremendous results to me in a weird kind of way. Am I tracking with me here, Donna? Right?
I am. You're doing great. And I think that's an important point, is that so many people make it transactional. Like this is not me saying it. I'm speaking for someone else. I tithe, financially give 10% of my income to charity. I tithe because I am told to, it's expected of me, and it will return. I tithe because and those are reasons that are not like the way you want to put good out into the earth, because you're told to, because it's expected of you, because you'll get something in return. How about because I want to give back, because I want to make the world a better place, because I want to be generous, because it makes me feel good? Can even be that. I mean, that is, and ultimately, I believe that everyone acts, everything that you do, even if you think it's for someone else, is done selfishly. I truly believe that when we take selfless action, we do it because we feel good about it, which makes it selfish.
Well, I mean, selfish has kind of a bit of a negative connotation. That's why.
Well, and that's why you always hear me. I like to flip the meanings of words on their head for that reason. Like, it's okay to be selfish.
Yeah, and that's why I like enlightened greed, because greed is generally a negative word, but it's like, hey man, I'm not being greedy. I'm saying I get it. I understand this cause and effect nature that is going on a daily basis, and therefore, in addition to feeling better about oneself, which is the byproduct, there's other rewards that come from serving people, from being generous, from encouraging those around you wherever you go, from being a light, right? I like to think of myself, you're this way too, Donna. We are people who are blessed in that we light up the room when we walk in. We bring a little bit of light with our smile and our love and the way that we operate. And that's a very beautiful thing. And to me, it is a conscious effort sometimes. Sometimes it comes naturally, but other times it's like, okay, I'm leaving my room at the hotel. I'm going out into the world to interact with other people. Put your happy face on and go. And
I'm laughing because I feel the truth in that. I have been there so many times before.
Right?
Yeah.
And yet it works. It works when you do that and you make that effort and you walk into a room and you are encouraging to others, then it comes back to you so many times. I mean, I know you get this same thought thrown your way all the time. I can't tell you how many people come up to me all the time. Rizzy, you're so positive all the time. How do you stay so positive? How do you do that? How do you do whatever? I'm like, you didn't see me 10 minutes ago in my room. Just telling you. Right. Rob has a great comment. He says, I practice kindness wherever and whenever I go. The saying, some people bring sunshine where they go, others bring sunshine when they go. Yeah. So thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. A good laugh is always good too. And it says here, Facebook here says, what a great topic this morning. Is excellent listening to Nathaniel Brandon, honoring the self. He talks about the similar things in that program. And this kind of, in my mind, in a unique way, also ties in with leadership, and ties in with leadership largely. We'll start out here. Starting out with leadership of oneself. How are you choosing to act? How are you stepping up, being a leader in the world? Leadership, the ship of leaders, right? What are we doing in our space when we walk out? Like for example, I'm in my hotel room. I'm at an event right now at this very moment. And when we wrap up this conversation, I'm going back to that event. Now, I happen to be in a great space because I'm hanging out with my amazingly great friend, Donna Fox, and we're having a great conversation. And this is very encouraging, but it wouldn't matter. Even if I was in a rough space even if I'd just gotten a rough email or something that could send you south, the minute I walk out that door back there and go back to that event over there where there are other people, I'm going to choose to act in a way that is encouraging. I'm going to lead myself into that space to say, hey, okay, so you had a rough little patch, you got a rough email, you had a rough whatever, buckle up, pull up your chin straps and get back out into the world, because the world is run by people who show up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all have those moments where we're not at, our highest and best self, and you have to give yourself some encouragement. You have to give yourself a pep talk. I'm fond of saying you have to be your own best friend. And whenever I find myself talking to myself in a way that I wouldn't talk to my best friend, I immediately correct those thought patterns. No, I don't say anything about me that I wouldn't say about my best friend. So I look at it that way, is that, being your own best friend, it's also, sometimes encouragement comes with both a carrot and a stick. It can be, let's say my favorite thing, I didn't walk my dogs. Let's say I don't walk my dogs one day, and that I walk my dogs religiously because it's part of who I want to be as a good dog mom, and that means walking my dogs. If I don't do it, I don't say, Donna, you're a terrible person for not walking your dogs. I say, Donna, you're not being a good dog mom. That's what you want to be. Get out there and walk the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
There's a slight difference, but it's a world of difference in that slight way that you shift your language.
That self-talk is really important.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. The amount of time we spend beating up on ourselves because of this, because we're not good enough, because we're not the other thing, because of whatever, because of the comparisons that are thrown at us all the time, often by the choices we make. How much time are you spending on Facebook where people invent characters that are not really real, or anywhere else on social media where that happens oftentimes? And not saying that social media is bad, by the way. I'm not at all. I'm simply saying that there's an awful lot of compare and despair that goes on when you're trying to be something that's other than you, when you're not leading yourself in the direction that you feel you want to be. I want to be a good dog mom. Therefore, I'm going to take the action, be the leader of me, and get out the door, right? Not complicated. Put the leash on the dogs.
Yeah.
You come to the door, put your sneakers on or whatever you walk in, and get out there and take a walk. And oh, by the way, who's the winner at the end of the day? In addition to the dogs, you A, done the exercise, B, validated yourself as being a good dog mom, and back into that space of I won. It's super crazy. I'm one of those guys, after reading the book, Make Your Bed, I just make my bed. And it's the first thing I do in the morning. Every morning, I don't care if I'm in a hotel room. I don't care where I am. I'm just going to make my bed. And it's interesting because that leadership of me says, wow, you started off by doing something that is positive. You started off by winning. You started every day by winning. And Admiral McRaven, who wrote the book, Make Your Bed, which I recommend to everybody, by the way, it's just such a simple, tiny little book, easy read, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, but full of the nuggets of what made him Admiral McRaven, right? And it starts out with Make Your Bed. And I'm like, I kind of preach it a little bit to my kids. Make your bed. It's like, it's something that is so simple and it takes like 40 seconds. And yet by doing that 40-second thing, you start out by winning in your day, leading yourself in the right direction. And if there's nobody else around, you're encouraging yourself.
Yeah. And if it's not make your bed, it's something similar to that. It's some small thing that you can do each and every morning to put yourself on the right path.
Mm-hmm. I like what Santia says. Santia says, starting your day with affirmations would be a great way to tune your language in how you speak to yourself. I'll throw one out there that's tough. This is not easy to do. I mean, at least not for me. I found for most people, it's not easy to do, which is to walk into the bathroom and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you.
I do that all the time.
Isn't that awesome?
All the time. Yep. And you're right. It's not an easy thing if you're not used to it. It's actually quite hard to for a lot of people, they can't even look themselves in the eye. That it becomes so difficult. I know so many people who said, if I get ready in the morning, I might look at my eye or my hair or my mouth when I'm brushing but I never look at myself. And I think it's one of the most powerful things that you can do. When was the last time you said to yourself, have a great day?
Yeah. Or even encouragement, which I do also, which is you're doing well.
Yeah.
Keep it up. And oh, by the way, this is important because a lot of people try to emphasize things by saying you're doing well.
Yeah.
Oh, you're sending a weird message to yourself when you do that. If you're doing something positive, nod your head affirmatively. Don't say, "Oh man, that was amazing."
Yeah,
No,
I see that all the time.
it happens a
It
lot.
was amazing.
You see it, people doing it, and especially if you're living in the world of Zoom that we live in, it's a good thing to lead yourself properly. When you got something positive to say, you can kind of nod your head like this and not be like, "Oh man, I was just having a great day." But people do that stuff, man. It's like super crazy.
Yeah.
I think this discipline, self-discipline, and moving down the track of discipline is so important. You can have, discipline, or you can have regrets.
That's
Which
right.
one? Which one is the bigger pain? Pain of discipline lasts a minute. The pain of regret lasts for a really, really long time. Martin says, one time I was doing affirmations, Tony Robbins style, and screamed so loud that someone called the police. All right, Martin. Man, I like the way you're playing big. That's all I can say.
So Mel Robbins, an incredible speaker, she's amazing, has a system that she calls the high five, where she encourages people to start every morning by going to the mirror and giving yourself a high five. So if saying I love you is a bit too much for you, or even too woo or too weird, give yourself a high five and actually high five the mirror. She talks about, and you can find many, many conversations with her on YouTube, where she talks about the psychology behind it. When you give someone a high five, you're giving them encouragement. So it's a way to start. And it's not only, it's saying, I see you, I notice you, you're doing a great job, you're putting in the effort, you're putting in the work, and you just need that moment of celebration. And the physical experience of doing it and the sensation in your hand works as an anchor for NLP people. It's called an anchor, neuro-linguistic program. These are things that we can do that pair physical actions with emotional states. So what this does by actually hitting the mirror is it anchors those thoughts, those feelings, that encouragement in yourself each and every day. So if you're struggling with some encouragement, self-motivation issues, go ahead and try the high five method.
One of the things that I heard about for leaders, which I thought was great, and I can't remember exactly where it came from, the source. So forgive me for not remembering the source, but it was called positive flybys. And positive flybys are you're in your office when you're in an office environment, or when you're in a family environment, that as you're walking by, you say, man, you look amazing. Yeah, you're doing some great work right now. I really appreciate how great you are. The positive flybys, they take nothing, 3 seconds. But man, those things work. They make a person go, wow, really? Well, I guess I just got noticed. I got kind of recognized. It feels pretty good.
Yep.
Right? Positive flybys. I love that. By the way, we're getting some great comments here in the chat. Love this content. It's a great TED Talk by Mel, one of the most popular TED Talks ever, which is cool. I'm going to have to check that out. I'm not sure I've seen that.
Oh, it's really fascinating. She's a great speaker. Smart cookie.
I want to ask you a question. I've been waiting 24 minutes to ask this question. Do you think leaders are born, can be developed, both, none of the above?
Can be developed. I am loath to think that any of us are born into something. We know nothing when we get started. We learn every single thing that we do or say is a learned behavior. And there may be some, I struggle with this. This is definitely one that I struggle with. There might be a propensity one way or another, but and many of you don't know. In fact, you probably don't know this about me. I had a daughter when I was 16 and gave her up for adoption. And we reconnected a few years ago. And in the course of talking with her, there are so many similarities that we have a nature versus nurture discussion all the time about how similar we are. But the problem is her parents are also similar to me. I chose them. I picked them personally to be her parents. And I picked them because they aligned with my thoughts, feelings, values, and opinions. So we still don't know whether it's nature or nurture that she has, particular propensities. But of all things, we're both in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Interesting.
yes. So there are a lot of similarities in between our lives.
So are you suggesting? Go ahead.
So I don't know. I don't know if a leader can be born, but I do know that leadership can be cultivated. So I do know that leadership can be taught.
For sure. And I think that we see examples of that all over the place, whether it's in the military, whether it's in a corporate structure, whether it's wherever it is, people go into environments, and if they stick around and they're taught things, then they're going to learn. I think that propensity that you were talking about, when you hear this comment all the time, oh, that person's a natural born leader.
Yeah.
But what's a natural born leader? What does that even mean? Like, maybe there's that propensity you were suggesting, Donna, that is there. But if the opportunity doesn't come up, if the circumstances are quashing, if the whatever, it becomes super hard. I mean, not to be political, because I'm not a political guy, but you see what's happening with Zelensky in the Ukraine, and you're like, that dude was a comic a few years ago. Help me out here. Yeah. I mean, it's very admirable to see someone step up. Obviously, people do, under dire circumstances, react perhaps differently, but it sure does speak to some level of propensity, something that was there somewhere. Because how do you go from being a comic to the president of a country to the leader of a team of people that are just really going so far beyond the norm for most of us? It's pretty impressive.
It is. Do you remember the earliest time that you were told that you were a leader?
That's a great question. So if I reflect back, when is the earliest time I was told that I was a leader? It's not an active recollection. Mm-hmm. Here's where I think it would have showed up early. Would have been from my dad. When we got together, because we were separated. My parents divorced, and so we lived in Europe, and we only saw my dad either in Christmas for 2 weeks every other year, and in the summer every year. And so we could go sometimes like a full big long without seeing each other. And he was big on, you are this person, mm-hmm. wore a ring that said non nisibi, not for self, be that. And I would think that the place where I first heard that kind of encouragement, so to speak, would have been from my father.
That's wonderful.
How about you?
So I was flagged for and put into a leadership development program when I was in high school. So someone in high school, I don't remember who at this point, recognized those skills in me. I'm trying to recall an earlier instance of it. Mm-hmm. However, I can't. That being said, my parents were very, very involved in scouting. And so I was raised I was the unofficial mascot of the Boy Scout troop that my dad was a scout leader for, because I just went everywhere with them. I learned all the things. I tied all the knots. I did everything but got the merit badges myself. And so that is leadership development training, among other things, the scouting community. So I think it was always part of my upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
It was just part of, and both of my parents were leaders. So
I have recollections on the negative side of being a leader. So when my parents divorced and I moved to Europe, it was very ugly, very, very difficult circumstances, in and out of court for 8 years, etc. But what aggravated and made it worse was that my mother remarried to a violent alcoholic. And my stepfather was very abusive, both physically and mentally. And it caused me to react and lash out. But what I usually did lashing out was becoming the kid that your parents told you should never be around, right? And doing crazy things like walking around with a pellet gun and shooting out all the lights in the neighborhood, or something, just reacting and lashing out in some kind of a negative way because of a very, very brutal and difficult situation at home. And I recall pretty early in the game, age 13-ish or whatever, going, all right, come on, you guys, everybody grab their gun. Let's go shoot some things.
Oh,
and
look at you being a leader.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Being a leader, but not for the right reason. So, being the leader of the bad pack, if you will. Yeah. And that happened a lot until I finally got out of that very negative environment and began to appreciate that being a jerk was not cool. And it wasn't getting me what I was trying to get, and wasn't serving anybody. I'm not sure I got to the place of it wasn't serving anybody. I think it was much more selfish at that point. It was much more about me, and I wasn't getting what me wanted, and therefore me should stop doing that behavior that was not getting me that thing. Right. But I do definitely recall being that negative leader as a youth based on a very, very rough situation at home.
I suppose the argument could be made that we are all leaders all the time. Just who are we leading and where? Yeah.
I think that I'm not sure who said it. We're all the CEOs of ourselves. Whether you're a CEO of a company or not, you're still the CEO of you. And especially in Groove, taking that level of responsibility and saying, hey, what I make out of Groove is entirely up to me. We at Groove are providing resources just like this very conversation right here to encourage people, to help them step into their greatness, etc. But at the end of the day, I can't make you happy. I can be there with you, maybe encourage you, but we have to lead ourselves, and we have to step into whatever it is that our path is fully and show up.
Agreed. 100%. I think one of the things that I am most proud about when it comes to Groove is the culture that we create and cultivate, both internally and externally for the company. And I am blown away every week. I meet with my marketing team, and everyone gets on and we talk about what our goals are for the next week. But everyone also shares a win that they've had, either personally or professionally. And that is a moment where we can all celebrate and encourage each other. And very often the wins are, I went out and had a nice night out or something like that. But so often it's team members going, I just want to give a shout out to this person on this team that helped me with this problem. And I love hearing that from my team members. The amount of congratulations and celebration that happens between them is so important. And that's how you can create encouragement on your own teams, is remember to celebrate the wins, no matter how small, and especially if they're personal wins that your team is having. Not only does it give you an opportunity to acknowledge them as human beings outside of people who work for you, which is really, really important when it comes to managing a team, but it also lets you learn about each other and encourage people to share the things that are important to them. Yeah. So
And celebrating a win is a way in which you encourage yourself and those others who won with you to keep going.
yes.
It's like a funny thing because there's even a bit of a fine line, right? There's that we absolutely need to celebrate, encourage, and then get back to work, because you can't spend too much time reveling in the woohoo, I am amazing. Yes, I am. I mean, that's cool for a minute. And I'm not opposed to it at all. I'm happy to high five everybody all over the place. And I do think it's very, very important to celebrate the wins and then to recognize that, you know what, there's another day and another victory to be had if you just lead yourself and gain some encouragement to keep going.
You're so right. And I think that is the importance of celebrating the small wins, because you have the big wins and you celebrate them. And then the next day you're like, oh, I'm still way far away from my next big win. My next big win might not come for months.
Mm-hmm.
So celebrate the little ones. Celebrate waking up every day if that's what it takes. Give yourself a high five just for getting out of bed. Those are important wins to celebrate. And when you celebrate the good stuff, it makes it a lot easier to correct the stuff that is not going your way in a way that you'd like to when it comes to managing teams. If the only thing that I did was correct my team, I wouldn't be a very good leader. People
no, and there's a lot of leaders out there
from me. Excuse me? I'm sorry.
No, and unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there who are like that, who are just negative, all the time, finding the negative stuff. I couldn't agree more. Taking a line from our good friend Paul Hoffman, I just use this all the time. People say, "How are you? If I was any better, I might be you."
Yes, it's a good one, isn't it?
It's so good, and it encourages everybody. When I saw Michael Stevenson this morning, who was in our flight club together, I said that to him. He goes, "Dude, is that like not copyright infringement?" I said, "I got permission, man. I got permission from Paul." And it's just such an easy thing to say, to put a smile on someone's face. So, if I was any better, I might be you. Really? Well, alrighty then. You know, it's like that funny reaction that you get from some people. Every now and then I'll get a, "Oh, you wouldn't want to be me." You know, but most of the time it's never that way. Most of the time it's really positive.
I smile every time he says that to me, and I know it's coming.
Yeah, Rob says another one I use. If I were any better, I'd be twins. There you go. I like that too. I like that too. I like I might be you, because that puts it back on that other person, right? Maybe the form of encouragement as well. So
this comment makes me the happiest of all the comments that I have ever seen on any of our lives. This one right here. Facebook user says, "I never celebrate wins. I got to start doing that."
Yeah.
Music to my ears. That is why we're here, to share with you the success strategies that we use. So, I want to talk about the other side of encouragement. Is the criticism side, when you're talking with your team, because all of us are leaders of our businesses, and whether it's a team of 1 or 100, you have a team that's working with you, even if that one is yourself. What are your thoughts about giving encouraging criticism? Is it possible?
I think it is. Now, I might not label it as encouraging criticism. I like the thought of feedback. Hey, are you open to a little feedback? You know, would you mind if I pointed out something? I have an idea that I think might work better for us. And I think whenever we do the we thing and don't make it a me versus you thing, it's a much more effective way of being able to share an idea that gets received. So if I, for example, don't like the way somebody did something, and I think that I could do it better, then rather than say, "Hey, I got an idea for you," I can say, "Hey, I had a thought as to how we might improve this, how we might change this or whatever, and then make it a we thought as opposed to us, me versus them kind of a thought, it seems like it's much more open, going to be much more openly received. So I do think there's a way of having healthy conflict, if you will, without being critical.
I like that. I like that a lot. My approach is to emphasize that we need to fix a process, not a person. That people don't fail, processes fail. And if I'm not getting the results that I'm expecting out of my team, 90% of the time it's because there's something missing from the process. And very often I'm unclear. I think that I'm being perfectly clear. This happened. The busier I get, the more I expect someone to read my mind. And obviously, I know that is not possible.
No, that's not a good formula, by the way. That was not a good formula. Just say
no, not at all. No, but I recognize that. I mean, when I don't get a result that I'm expecting, the first person I look to is me. What was I unclear? We do almost all of our communication in the office through it's typed chat via Skype. And the very first thing that I do is go back and see what I asked for. And you would not believe how often, in the benefit of hindsight, shows me that I was unclear with what I asked for. It sounded perfectly clear to me, but I was definitely unclear. When I read it back with the perspective of how could they have gotten this so wrong, I see how I got it so wrong, how I messed up, how I failed. And that's always my first reaction is, where did I go wrong? Because communication is about the message that's received. So the very first place where something might break down is in the initial communication, and it almost always is. The second place I look is the processes that are involved and say, okay, it looks like I was clear what happened with the process. No, the very, very last place that I look is to the person.
That's good. That's really good. Jody says, I always give a few positives and then say, but one thing we need to work on is, and I've heard that to be a very effective technique also. Say, hey guys, let's take a look at this. I love this. I love this. I love this. What do you think about what could we do with this piece? Then it's suddenly not such a big negative. It's just like an exploration. It's a next step. It's okay, this is what we do. We're all about being as good as we can be. What's that look like?
The late and great Andy Jenkins used to call that a sandpaper sandwich. You deliver some sandwich between two nice fluffy slices of bread. You've got your sandpaper in the middle.
Sandpaper sandwich. That's good. Sandwich. I like that. Andy Jenkins. He was a good dude. He was a great guy at one-liners and little comical moments and stuff like that. He made a lot of people smile. I mean, I think back to Video Boss and some of the videos that he would make. They would have you cracking up at the subtitle down below that had nothing to do with the video whatsoever, but was getting inside your head. You remember what I'm talking about?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
He was so good at that. In a sense, offering encouraging messages in a very subtle, funny way that he had a keen wit for this kind of stuff, which is an understanding of people, I think. I guess being a filmmaker, part of that and that background that he had was pretty incredible. So, yeah, I love that. What do you do? Last question. We'll start wrapping this thing up here a second. What good practices do you do to lead yourself every day?
Oh, such a great question. So, absolutely positive self-talk is one of them. And being able to recognize when I'm not doing that, because we all have moments when we're not doing that and being a little hard on ourselves. So that's the biggest one. By far, quadruples any other benefit is watching the self-talk. Some other things that I do to lead myself every day is that I recognize that self-discipline is self-love. And I don't resonate with people who tell me not to be so hard on myself. I hear that often because I'm driven. and I get a lot done, and I let myself know when I'm disappointing myself,
Hmm.
which some people think of as being hard on myself, but I think of it as course correction. I know who I want to be, and I know what behaviors are um, the behaviors that 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 person does, and I recognize when I'm not behaving at my highest and best self, and
Hmm.
just acknowledge it.
Hmm. Yeah.
That being said, Sansia just said something right here. She said, once Donna told the team, if your best is 50 to 60%, I want your best of that. And I thought that was amazing. Part of understanding when I'm not being at my best self is understanding that sometimes I can't be at my best self. And I recognize, oh, that wasn't a good moment,
Hmm.
but I'll do better next time.
Yep.
And it doesn't become about me being a bad person or not good or negative in any way, because again, I'm my own best friend. But when you can recognize when you're not being the leader that you want to be, and acknowledge that you're not being that leader that you want to be, it goes a long way to help you correct the behaviors that allow you to become the person that you want to be.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, so I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. And for me, and I think it ties in with the positive self-talk, but for me, it's a
Mm.
right tangential to that is in order to lead myself and to to be my best self, I have to use my spiritual practice to maintain a high life condition. Because
Mm.
if I have a high life condition, I can deal with commotion. If I have a high life condition, I can deal with someone who's negative. If I have a high life condition, I can deal with a mistake. If I have a high life condition, everything is better.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, let's suppose that I'm using my spiritual practice, whatever anybody's spiritual practice is. Mine happens to be chanting, others it's prayer, whatever your thing, moment of stillness, wherever you go to raise that life condition, whatever practice you use. Oftentimes I'm focused on a particular issue. Like, let's just suppose that I'm having a discrepancy, so to speak, with my spouse, right? And it is causing me a lot of angst. And when I go to my spiritual place to raise my life condition, I'm largely doing it in that moment to overcome that situation with my spouse. But the benefit is it then applies at work. It applies when I'm out in the world. It applies that higher life condition affects and sheds light on, enlightens
Mhm.
everything. So to me, the number one thing that I do, and it does have a lot to do with self-talk, how am I talking to myself, is to use my spiritual practice to make sure that I raise and maintain a high life condition on a constant basis as much as I possibly can.
Define a high life condition.
So you wake up in the morning and you're in whatever space you're in, whatever that space is. Some days it's better, some days it's not as good. If one takes the time to do whatever practice that you use to focus on you and focus on the good things, focus on the positive, focus on your goals, focus on your dreams, focus on the actions that you're going to take in service of those goals and dreams, you find that your vibration begins to come up and resonate at a different level. You start to vibe more with the positive aspects of the universe and you get engaged, you get into action. Act I on whatever it may be, right? I'm acting, I'm doing something to move in the direction of those things that I value and care about, and the life condition raises. It just comes up from being focused on, oh man, I'm so tired, I didn't get enough sleep last night, I had too much to drink and I didn't work and whatever, right? You could do that and you could start your day that way, but you could then turn it around by saying, wait, stop, pause.
Mhm.
What am I going to do right now to shift this in a different direction and get myself my smiling eyes back, my face with an upward tick as opposed to a move and get out, do stuff. I think it's
I
so
love it.
important. Well, I think, and Matt says here, I write down 3 things I want to get done. Not the top 3, just the first 3 I can think of. Then I do something I got from Zig Ziglar. I pick a friend to call and encourage that day. Wow.
Ah,
Lovely.
how nice.
Matt, thank you very much. What a great way to wrap up our call today. A reminder for all of us, pick someone that you can encourage and just do it. Lead yourself in that positive way and go out there and do it. I'm going to go back to this event and I'm going to encourage some people.
Find the grumpiest person in the room.
That's right.
Get your smile.
Yeah, normally these events, there's not too many grumpy people, but I'm just going to go for it.
That is the beauty of live events, isn't it?
And yeah, for sure.
If you need more positive people in your life, find a live event to go to. People who go to events are amazing people. They're motivated. They're people that are getting out and doing things.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, in all honesty, what I really would want to do right now if I wasn't leading myself is take a nap. However, there are 2 hours left in today's event. Go to the event, go learn something, encourage some people, and then you can take a nap, Ridgely, Mr. Bonehead.
I'd love to be on a beach with all of my friends.
Right?
That's what I'd love to be.
Exactly. In the meantime, let's get something
In the
done.
meantime, get some work done.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Sansia leaves us with a great thought. Try buying a coffee for the person behind you at a shop. Such a good feeling also, for sure. Martin says, so looking forward to the next Marketers Cruise. You and me both, brother.
Me too.
All right, Alan. Hit us with some music.
Everyone,
Let's
thank
do
you
it.
for your time, your energy, and your attention today, whether you've joined us live or are watching the replay. I want to encourage you to share your tools and tips in the comments for users, for people that are watching later. Really, this community is incredible in the way that we are around to support and encourage each other and learn from each other, and not just from the so-called gurus that are on the camera and before you, but between each other. There are some amazing, amazing people within the Groove community, and I'm just really, really grateful that we have the opportunity to provide them a voice by participating in conversations like this.
You know, a smile is a little curve that sets a lot of things straight.
I love it.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you very, very soon. Bye
So
all.
long.
Ciao. Until the next one.